Good afternoon. My name is Susan Feidelman. I'm a principal account exec at the Stelter Company. Thanks so much for joining our webinar today, Surviving and Thriving, the Silver Tsunami. In my role at Stelter, I partner with community-related nonprofits across the U.S. Nonprofits such as the Wounded Warrior Project, the Metropolitan Opera, Save the Redwoods, and World Wildlife Fund, which is why I'm excited to be here to introduce our webinar speakers, Renee Durnin, Client Strategist for the Stelter Company, and Laura Spellings, Marketing Senior Specialist for Gift Planning at World Wildlife Fund, whom I have the pleasure of working closely with. I'll get back to the introductions in a minute, but first I'd like to say a few words about our webinar series. As an expert advocate for asset-based giving, Stelter is committed to providing innovative solutions in education for the nonprofit industry. We pride ourselves on being a bridge builder for the community and are happy to host this free webinar today, connecting you to experts from across the country to assist you in maximizing revenue across your development portfolio. Today's webinar is the first of our 2024 webinar series. We have a great slate of presenters lined up for the year: Josh Burkholtz, Juan Rose, Pamela Jones-Davidson, John Kendrick, and Meg Klein, to name just a few. Look for your personal invitations in your inbox as each webinar gets closer, or you can go to our website, www.stelter.com/webinars to register. Now back to today's and our presenters, Laura Spelling and Renee Durnin. Laura has been Senior Marketing Specialist for World Wildlife Fund's gift planning team since 2015. She has 24 years of development experience, with almost 14 of those at the World Wildlife Fund. Laura manages all aspects of the gift planning marketing efforts for World Wildlife and considers herself a bit of a data geek, which we at Stelter really appreciate. In her previous role as gift planning officer, Laura cultivated and stewarded gift planning prospects and donors in the Western region of the United States. Prior to joining World Wildlife, she worked for 10 years at National Wildlife Federation, where she started out as a gift planning assistant before becoming the manager of gift planning marketing. Laura earned a BS in wildlife science with minors in English and biology from Virginia Tech. Our second presenter, Renee Durnin, is a client strategist for the Stelter Company. She has a unique blend of fundraising and direct response marketing expertise that spans all forms of fundraising. She specializes in leveraging analytics to build effective creative communications for planned, mid-level, and major giving, along with donor acquisition and renewal fundraising campaigns. She leads programs working with Stelter's key nonprofit clients such as World Wildlife Fund, World Vision, UNICEF USA, the Salvation Army, and Feeding America to improve their planned giving results through a data-driven approach. Renee earned her BA in Communications from Truman State University and has been a certified fundraising executive since 2009. Welcome, Renee and Laura. We are so excited for your presentation today, and I turn it over to you.
That is great. Thank you so much, Susan. And yeah, actually, this is an encore presentation. Laura and I had the pleasure of doing this presentation at National CGP in Chicago last October. And so we're so happy to be reaching more folks with this presentation here today. Starting off with our learning objectives, really what we're looking at doing here today is covering about 3 different topics. First, we're going to talk about understanding the massive fundraising opportunity that has been happening in legacy giving over the last 5-10 years with this boomers and with the changing mindset of giving over the last 3 years. And then next, we're going to delve into a bit more about identifying the 5 stages of the legacy donor journey and how this really differs from traditional giving and how this is different. And then third, learn about the key marketing approaches and techniques that we've used on the World Wildlife Fund program over the last 3 to 4 years, where we're seeing that triple the results given some techniques and with this changing landscape in planned giving. So with that, we will continue on here and begin with what's in the big wave. Here's the boomers. The boomers are coming. Really, let's start out with just looking at births by generations with our silent generation over there on the left at 47 million. And then we see this is what is the big wave, the 76 million boomers, just by virtue of births here. We can see the wave of them here, how they outpace our Gen Xers, which makes me sad given I'm a Gen Xer. And Laura too, we're Gen Xers, so it makes us sad. But we're only at 55 million. And then even the millennials are only at 62 million. So really the boomers, they really do make a splash wherever they go. And that is the statistic here and kind of the theme of our presentation today. The silver tsunami is the fact that 10,000 boomers are turning age 65 and actually age 75 every day until 2030. And so this is just this large onset of people that wherever they go, they're making big splashes. And I do want to say I did not coin the phrase, the silver tsunami. That was actually done by the US Census and has been used here throughout the years to describe the effect of the boomers in all matters. So let's delve a little bit into the boomers and who they are. So, and how they are different than our silent generation and the greatest generation that was before them. So really, boomers, they have an increased life expectancy, whereas the silent generation prior to them, their life expectancy was only 63 years old. The boomers, on average, their life expectancy is age 79. And I think that continues to tick up even as we go along, given it is such a long span for them. The other aspect that's different from the boomers than silence is that they have high levels of education. So, and they really brought in the wave of the white collar jobs. Where before with the silent, there was much more vocational and blue collar in that group. So this is a huge shift. The other is that they've experienced favorable real estate conditions. So, really they've seen a huge increase in the value of their properties, with the exception of maybe the 2008-9 Great Recession, but still it has ticked back up even after that. And so really they've seen a huge increase in the value of even their real estate, their properties. The other thing is that they have a lower child birth rate. So where the silent generation, it could be normal that they could actually field a baseball team with all the kids that they had. The boomers were very different in that, they're more modest in the size of their families, more the 2, 3, 4 sizes. So really what they've had in expenses is much less than what the silent generation had, because I just looked this fact up. I like to keep current every time I do this presentation. The average cost to raise a child in the US is $332,000. So take that if you had 10 kids, 12 kids, wow. Such a big difference. So really, and actually this is not taking into fact the education in college. And we know how much college can certainly cost nowadays too. So much different amount of assets that they have been able to accumulate with the lower children and their family. The next, they were also very expansive in their work experience. So where our silent generation would stay in a job and never change their job, the boomers are different. They would move and progress for better opportunities. Like I can say with my grandpa Woods, he was a US postal worker for 40 years. He never changed his job. That is not the case of the boomers. The boomers progressed in their jobs for better opportunities. Next, they also are the first generation to have dual incomes. So, where before it was certainly the mother stayed home and was the caretaker. Now, in the boomer generation, they were the beginning of both spouses providing income into the family. And so, just given all these factors all together, the large volume, all these different more favorable asset-based situations, they have greater economic security than past generations certainly had. And I had to put this in this presentation, but I know we get tired of hearing it, but it is factual that there is this great transfer of wealth that is happening. The baby boomer generation actually is expected to leave $68 trillion to their Gen X and millennial children. So all this assets and wealth that are there. The Center of Wealth and Philanthropy actually estimates that $6.3 trillion of that will be given to nonprofits through charitable bequests. And this is just through charitable bequests between 2007 to 2061. So have a lot of life yet on this silver tsunami wave that is happening. Then, but so we've got all that great security, like the asset, the wave of boomers happening, and throw in the mix a tidal shift here, which is the pandemic. So, a few years ago, this happened. If you all remember, when it began, we were going to the New York Times tracker. We were looking and just watching as this pandemic affected so many people's lives. And daily, daily, we were going and thinking about the pandemic and what was happening. We were also, even on our news, we would have a ticker. Actually, there was a death ticker like this that would be on the news, even when we turned the channel. And this affected not just certain age groups, it affected everybody down to your children who could not see their grandparents because they were in a nursing home or things like that. So it really, this matter of death, which we typically, as Russell James talks about, we try to avoid thinking about it. This pandemic really created this tidal shift where it was in front of everybody and heavy. So as we look at US deaths over the last 20 years, you can see here from right before 2015, the arrow going up. We're going up on deaths in millions in the US because of that larger generation of boomers having more people in their generation. But then what happened here with the pandemic, our deaths in the US skyrocketed. We went up in 2020 and 21 was the peak. And then it did decline in 2023. So our question here, we are going to pause throughout and have some polls throughout this section. So I'll hand it over to Laura to start our first poll question.
Thanks, Renee. Okay, so everybody, what position did COVID-19 rank among the leading causes of U.S. deaths in 2020 to 2021? Jen, if you can pull up the poll so everybody can take a stab at the answer. And so you can choose from number 1, number 3, number 5, or number 10. So everybody take a guess and let us know what you think.
We're at about 60% of people who've taken it, and it's still rising. So we're going to give it a couple more seconds.
I feel like we should have some Jeopardy music going.
I know.
Or maybe some Beach Boys actually with their surf theme. Didn't get that coordinated.
It looks like it has slowed way down. I think people are mostly done. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And here are your results.
So look at that, Renee. So most everybody looks like the majority were correct. The answer is B, which is number 3. In 2021, COVID-19 ranked number 3 with over 416,000 U.S. deaths, behind number 1, which was heart disease, and number 2, which is cancer. In 2022, COVID did move to number 4, behind unintentional injury. So there you go. Thanks, Renee.
Great. And actually, I was looking to try and see what it was in 2023 yet, but they don't have all the numbers out on that just yet. So in general, what we talked about here at this first part of the session is that legacy giving is on the rise. We see here that the data, according to an early pandemic study by Martz and Lundy, more than half of the 328 organizations that were surveyed saw legacy donors increase their giving during the pandemic. And actually, gift planning revenues and closure rates on either increased or remained stable for these organizations too. So it really, really heightened this exposure and us being willing to think about our death and that aspect of things that we normally avoid. So next, we're going to move into what's in the big waves. And this is where we're going to talk about the legacy donor journey and through legacy giving, planned giving, what are the mindsets of this journey? And this is some research that actually we've developed here at Stelter, and it's different phases. So the first phase is actually the groundswell, which really is more about your regular giving to an organization. And the first phase is that, you just begin supporting an organization, and you as the nonprofit are demonstrating competency to that donor. And the donor is realizing that, hey, the work of this nonprofit is important to me. Next, in that regular giving aspect is you moved into discovering. And this is where they feel more connected in that giving to the organization, and where we begin to introduce the idea of legacy giving, where legacy giving is very different than outright giving, is that it takes repeated exposure to this before someone will actually even consider it, let alone make a legacy gift. So this is very different than traditional giving and asking for a $20 gift. So we introduce it. And this is also where they're feeling like that my giving is making a difference. Then they move into kind of the face of this wave, where it's more about loyal, regular giving. And they are moving into the considering. And so they've been exposed to legacy giving, and they're reflecting on their assets and their finance and their long-term plans, their family situation. And they are also thinking about themselves and, their values and who they are. It's actually our philanthropic impulse really kicks in when we get to our 60s as human beings, and who we are and our reflection of who we are really kicks in. And they're also, because there are so many nonprofits with wonderful missions that donors care about, they're also weighing nonprofits against one another. And so, and the other obligations they have to maybe family members. And this is where it's great for us to present ideas like seeing that social norm that people like me do things like this. And so that is a great way to convey that. And then the crest of the wave is actually the legacy gift itself. And this is where they decide to make the gift. They are integrating their own identity with the nonprofit that they've said, this is who I am. They share these values. They're also, what's different in legacy giving than traditional giving is there's many options for them. I mean, different ways that fit their situation. So they're researching legacy giving options and the various ways they can do that. And then they decide to make that legacy gift. And because this is a way that they can live on through this support. And then last is acting on it, where they are actually arranging the legacy gift and notifying the nonprofit. I want to call out there how I have an asterisk next to the notifies nonprofits. There is a caveat to that. We'll get to that on the next slide. But in general, them wanting to ensure that their wishes are fulfilled through the legacy gift they've made. And so the big asterisk is these invisible internal waves. And actually, I did research, this is true. There really are invisible internal waves in the ocean.
That's right.
And so we correlate this to the fact that really so many people, when they make the legacy gift, they're not going to tell people about it. Our research shows that on average, only 40% of plan givers actually inform the charities of their gift. So our work is very hard when we do all this work of getting them through the journey. Many times we are more than 60% of the time we don't know about it. And Penelope Burke did a study on her donor survey. She asked this question in a special legacy report. Why, of your legacy donors wouldn't you share? And the majority will not share because of a couple factors. The two biggest ones were 70% said it's a private matter and I'm just not going to share. And another 22% said no one asked me. So those comprise the two biggest hurdles. And so as we kind of lead into the next section, I have a teaser here, just considering that marketing really can ask those 22% who say they've never been asked. And still, marketing can reach the 70% who say it's a private matter with caring messages, keeping you top of mind. We actually just had our all company meeting where we had the pleasure of a few of our clients joining us and sharing donor stories with us. And one of them that they shared was a donor who said, and our client said this donor had not been on her gift radar, but shared that she'd been regularly reading our newsletters and that it really made her feel fulfilled to do this type of gift, and that really made her feel part of the organization. So words matter. Reaching out to people matters. So next, we're moving into our next poll.
Yeah, another poll. So what percentage of realized legacy gifts does WWF know about? So Jen, if you can bring up the poll for us, is it 17%, 28%, 36%, or 47%? Go ahead and take a guess. Let us know what you think. I think they're going to be surprised, Renee.
Oh, don't give it away.
We're at about 75% of people participating. It's still rising, so we'll give you a couple more seconds to make your guess.
Jen, if you're
Okay.
seeing a surgeon one, tell us.
Well, I am, but you're gonna have to wait for it. Okay, looks like most people that want to take it have taken it. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. And here's your results.
See, Renee?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you all will be surprised. And it was answer A. WWF is aware of only 17% of realized legacy gifts. And it varies for nonprofit organizations. But generally for us, it's 17%. Thank you, everybody.
All right. So, Laura, we're moving into wax your surfboard.
That's right.
Case for
So
marketing.
now we're making the case for the marketing that we're going to do. So really, we've been talking about the marketing benefits and why it's a good idea to do this. It reaches hundreds of thousands, and versus being limited to just a few for your gift officer. And I say a few, 100 to 200. It just depends on how many gift officers you have, right? It also helps gift officers by moving the donors right through that journey that we've been talking about today. And then it also provides a funnel for the gift officers to focus on those people that are raising their hands that want more information or want to talk to somebody about closing that type of a gift. We're using key marketing tactics. Stelter and WWF have tripled both hand raisers, which are those people that just say, hey, I've definitely want to know more about this, and the new planned gift intentions, which is what we call folks that let us know that they put WWF in their estate plans. So yes, we consider Stelter part of our team.
Yeah, we're Team Panda, right, Laura?
That's right. We're Team Panda. That's right. So we have another poll. How many gift officers do you think WWF has? Jen, if you want to pull up the poll for us. Is it 3, 7, 14, or 18? And when we did this at the Bridge Conference, Renee, we were giving out plushies. Sorry to everyone here.
Yes.
I can't give them out virtually, but yes, for our polls,
and
that's what we did.
They were water themed too.
Yes, that's right.
Which was the one that everyone, was it the, no, we had a dolphin.
Was it we had octopus, a dolphin, a whale.
A narwhal. Did we have a narwhal?
Yes, we did. We had a narwhal. Yep.
Well,
Okay.
now everyone's very jealous. So
Oh, sorry,
good
guys.
job. We
You're
have
welcome.
it's slowed down. We have about 85% who have taken the poll. So I'll give you just another second if you wanted to participate. How many gift planning officers does Laura have to work with? All right, we're going to go ahead and end the poll. And here's your results.
Okay. So while we'd love to have 7, the answer is 3. There are 10 people on the WWF gift planning team, but there are only 3 donor-facing gift officers right now. So always hoping to get more, but you know how it goes.
I was surprised though. More people said 3 than I thought when we raised hands at the conference last time. So
Yes, most definitely.
This is either an inside knowledge group or they're a pretty smart group here. All right, so now we're going to move then into, what aspects do we do in our marketing? And it's really a multi-tiered marketing approach. And it begins at the top of the funnel with identifying prospects. I mean, you have, massive groups of donors that are doing regular outright giving or membership or whatever types of traditional fundraising for your organization. So really it's identifying the right prospects for planned giving. In general, we think like 30 to 40% of donors are prospects for legacy giving. So that's an important part. Then, as we talked about, educating them on planned giving and really having that repeated exposure to this different type of giving, because it is not the way people traditionally consider supporting an organization. And then really getting them to convert and do the gift. And then our last stage is steward the ones we are able to know about.
After
And
they
then
let us
that's why,
know. That's right. They got to let
yeah,
us know. Yep.
yeah, because the one thing that's also really different in planned giving is this is often a revocable gift. So
Yes.
we have done so with many organizations where, again, their donors are looking at many organizations to support through their legacy giving, and they can change their mind. And I've worked with some organizations where, they were one of 4 when they found out about it, and ended up being one of 3 getting 50% because they stewarded their donors. And those other organizations didn't. So
Yep.
all the things are really important. And so we're going to now move into, how to hang 10, those marketing best practices for our Silver Tsunami Wave. And really the first thing to think about here is being consistent and having a yearly plan and looking at it every year, working with the staggering it, how it works for your gift officer staff. Also being consistent with it year over year, in that, if you do something and it mails or is in home on Thanksgiving Day, that's not going to be as effective as if you do it at a time where it's more open. Like say in January. January is a great time. We found actually one of the peak times to be talking about legacy giving, because the traditional outright giving kind of lets up. It hits hard and heavy in November, December, and then in January it opens up with not as many appeals from outright giving, and it's that time of resolution and planning. So then we also look at this as we have our primary broad-based campaigns where we're staggering throughout the year. And then we'll touch on this in a little bit. We have a concentrated, much more refined group of higher plan giving prospects that we have developed a drip campaign for that we'll delve into here in a bit. And we also have our survey that we kind of consider different as a different technique. But be consistent in year over year in how you do things and how you look at projects from one year to the next. Timing does matter. In marketing, the other thing that's really important is following the golden rule of marketing and keeping that top of mind in your marketing pieces. And this is the mix that 40% of your success of any marketing piece is targeting the right people. Versus another 40% of our success is dedicated to the offer. What are the action we're asking them to do? And the threshold involved in that is another 40%. And then only 20% of our success in our plan giving marketing is actually based on what it looks like. And I know we get caught up in that a lot, in what are the visuals and all those details. but really it moves the dial the least behind audience and the offer, what we're asking the person to do. And really one that we see the biggest lift in, and this is because it's difficult to delve in and do, but audience. Audience really can change the dial, and it's going to help you win. But the problem is it's often overlooked due to the complexity of the database systems and how it's all managed. And they're almost like, I know to you fundraisers, it's like an abyss. And it's probably like how things have been maintained might be change over the years and such. So it's icky, and we know that it's hard to dig into. So, but I do want to say it's worth it. We are fortunate at World Wildlife Fund. They do have John Schwass is head of their database, and he is actually an incredibly great analytic mind and does run fantastic models for us. We actually do a PG intender model, a PG bequest likelihood model, and a charitable gift annuity likelihood model that we run fresh on every job. And so we really, Laura, that is such a huge benefit that you guys have there at World Wildlife Fund with John. He's a treasure. What I do want to say, though, and this is not the case for World Wildlife Fund, but I wanted to put a great white in this presentation. And it's a good point.
She really just likes the picture.
Yes. But it is a really good point to watch out for great whites. And actually what that is too much do not solicit marked in your database. And I have seen this with so many clients that I've worked with. If you know that either you're trying to stop them from getting too many appeals, or you're trying to stop them because they're a major donor and they just want to flag them off and hold them. There's those silos, that happen in nonprofits. So I've seen this where like up to 30% of our best plan giving prospects are flagged as do not contact or do not solicit. And we actually, on one of them, we had the conversation, a few of them had the conversation. Really, what we're offering here in legacy giving is often really helpful tools, planning information, guides, things that are helpful. They're not appeals. And so talk to them about possibly lifting some of those do not solicit suppressions. I actually was able to do this in one where I was able to test it. And about 25% to 30% of our lift came from just being able to target people that had been on the do not suppress from our communications before. So it really can move the dial and is worth it. Next, now we're going to get into the more interesting stuff or more fun stuff, the visuals, right, Laura?
Yes.
The WWF actions or examples in action. And we'll lead off here with our education newsletter. We do multiple ones of these throughout the year. I will say, again, we want to repeated exposure to legacy giving is important and in different ways. So on education packages, we reach a broader audience. We also, it's a lot of information to take in. We expect a lower response rate because whenever you're peppering somebody with multiple choices and a lot of information, the less likely they are to actually do the action. So, but it is necessary because you want to feed that funnel down to conversion. So education is important. What we found here is that actually a 4-page newsletters work better than 2-page. And part of that is because the more space allows us to provide some of that stewardship impact stories that when you just have a front and back of a cover letter, you really, or not cover letter, a newsletter, you're really not able to get much information across. So with the 4-page, we're able to steward them for their past giving, plant the seeds for how they may make a legacy gift, and show them that social norm of other people like me do this. So that's been a big important thing. And as I just talked about, that social norm strategies definitely work. People like to see other people like them doing this. And actually that example there of Jane Burnett, if you can get a great Plan Giving donor testimonial, like she suffers from Hodgkin's lymphoma, and a plant that was grown in Madagascar is like her passion for why she supports World Wildlife Fund. So those great stories too can be, I know they're hard to find and it's hard to get legacy donors to share, but when they can, they're very inspirational. And in
Renee.
general, oh, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry. I was trying to catch you before you went on. There's a question that came in specifically about this, so I thought I would just go ahead and ask it now. Christine
Sure.
is wondering if this newsletter package was part of the primary campaign that appeared on your marketing calendar.
Yes. Yes. So, or Laura, go ahead.
There's two of them. There's one in the fall and then there's one in the spring. But yes, when we talk about the drip campaign, the drip campaign piggybacks and they also receive this, but we'll talk about that some more when we get further.
Good point. Yes. So yeah, we try to be effective with our different campaigns cost wise by sharing a bit of them. But yes, this is part of the primary campaign. And in general, my rule of thumb is if you're going to do newsletters, you need to at least do 2 a year.
Yes.
And I mean, we do have many organizations that do 3 and some even 4 a year. It just depends on what your goals are and your staff that you have to follow up on leads. Again, like we talk about newsletters, actually, they do a lot of legwork just planting the seeds for folks and not as much response handling needed as targeted packages. But very important. And I'll say the other thing on here, we do complement all of our newsletters even though with a targeted email. We've kind of transitioned to the targeted emails. The digital space for newsletters is a bit more challenging with, we say in direct mail, your attention span is seconds. I'd say in digital, our attention span is nanoseconds.
Yes.
So to get a person to invest in that digital is a different experience for us mentally even. It's much more fleeting. And so that's why we put the dollars in the print and then do targeted for education and then do targeted with the offer in the digital space. All right. Well, now I'll hand it over to Laura.
Yes. So this is our one of our targeted wills packages. And specifically, we wanted to share this one because it's got a special place in our hearts. It does really well for us. It's a seasonal delivery around Mother's and Father's Day, focusing on the parents. It celebrates them as nurturers of nature with like a nice greeting card. And I know you can't see the inside, so I wanted to make sure. Let me just unblur my screen real quick. Sorry about that. You can see the inside. It focuses on 3 different animals and how they nurture their young. Focuses on that, and then includes some fun engagement in terms of the reply card. So the reply card you can see here in the screen, but I show you the backside allows them to choose which animal they are most like. It shares how they can carry on their love for nature and lets them pick which one they connect with. And a lot of times they check it off and they send it back to us and they'll put notes on why they believe they're connected to that person or that animal. It's really, really interesting that how it engages them a lot more than we expected.
And Laura, I'll say, so this is what we call our targeted
Yes.
conversion packages. This, we do see a higher response rate when you're, focusing on just one thing. Basically, this is a very strong stewardship piece and then planting the seed for legacy. And this is where we get a lot of existing plan gifts revealed to us in this effort. It's very strong in that way. So
we do also follow it up. We follow it up digitally as well. The same thing as we do for the newsletter.
Yes. And so that's a little sample here on the screen. Yes. Okay, great. Next, we'll move into another targeted package, and this is targeted charitable gift annuities. So really on this piece, our message is really, did you know about this special gift that can boost your income? Most people don't understand that there's a gift I can make that is going to actually provide me income back. If you ask the average ask your grandpa this, they don't know it. So this is why we try and keep it fairly simple in where we're explaining it. It also is a more complicated gift, so for somebody to get their brain wrapped around. So we do try to explain it a little bit, and it is all focused on charitable gift annuities. We find if you blend the easier legacy gift, or let alone a regular outright gift, they're going to take that option right away. So we keep it all focused on charitable gift annuities, boosting your income. In this example here with World Wildlife Fund, to make it even more personal, we actually, on the example that we have on the inset of the cover letter, the magenta here is actually personal variable age information based on their age and their assets, their wealth capacity. So not that we do exactly their age, we do it in ranges, so it doesn't feel too creepy. But and then also, on their capacity, it is looking at their past giving to World Wildlife Fund. And then we also do have some wealth screening that guides us on the example size of the gift example we're going to present here. So we try not to downgrade a donor that, who has made $100,000 gift. And if this example were to present at a $25,000 gift, it'd be downgrading them. So we try and do that in the piece. And we do this in digital as well. We've seen a lot of, folks like the autonomy to be able to run the illustrations themselves. So it's a simple email that drives them to our landing page for them to run their own illustration here on the right. And again, our reply on this is either get the guide to give you more information about CGAs, or an example. We also want to lower that threshold on the reply device. So we simply ask them for their age, and then your gift officers are looking at what size of example should be presenting to them, or calling the donor and having that conversation with them. Right, Laura?
Yes. Yep. Works really well for us.
And that way you're lowering the
conversations.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Whereas if you're asking, like if you're right off the bat asking for, $10,000 gift, or, it allows it to be a conversation and lowers that threshold, as opposed to like putting too big of a threshold in marketing materials. So, and lets that be for the gift officer conversation. All right, and I hope we're doing okay on time. I think we're getting there. We have best of the best, and the special campaigns, and this is where we lead into and talk about the drip campaign that we keep mentioning, teasing. But really what this is it is a multi-channel series of highly personalized, either stewardship, education, or conversion touch points to this finite select top legacy prospect group. So in this case, we have about 5,000 in the pool. We're actually talking about broadening that though, because it's been doing so well. But kind of go over the journey. It's a 6-month journey, so we want to be in front of them every month. I also want to say we use that PG and tender modeling for about half of the audience, and then the other half is our survey responders and previous inquirers from our other marketing efforts. So, and really performance-wise, we see about even from both of them. So really this is created to be almost like another plan giving officer, honestly, to help with the 3-person plan giving gift officer follow-up team that we got going. So first piece, we actually piggyback on the January targeted over the primary campaign. We actually piggyback on that, and we just do a little something special where we like put a Post-it note or a special note and have it come from their regional plan gift officer based on the state they reside in. Then our next touch point is stewardship, pure stewardship, where on Valentine's Day, we send them a sweet Valentine's card. It's just, we're sweet on you, and really is just keeping World Wildlife Fund top of mind. The next month, we are then engaging them with our campaign called the Concept Comparison. And this is where we're sharing with them, hey, here's 3 different legacy concepts. One is the sink or swim is oceans and conservation. Unbearable is climate change. And Have You Heard is about the wildlife programs at World Wildlife Fund. And it has some legacy giving and concepts there in the copy. And we ask them to vote on it and say which resonates more with you. and we get great engagement and also conversion opportunities during these talking points. Next, we piggyback again on the broad primary April Plan Giving educational newsletter, again with just a little special treatment of it coming from their personal gift officer in their region, and maybe a handwritten note, and their reply card looks a little different. Then in May, we also piggyback on the Nurturers of Nature card that is in the primary campaign, but we do something special for them. We actually include the planner that is a back-end offer for the primary campaign. We actually include it in that outbound package to them. And we're talking about progressing this to have another bounce back opportunity here. But right now is pure stewardship. And another stewardship kind of pays off in the end. But again, another stewardship piece. In June, we touched them with a digital only impact progress report for them to see what their gifts are doing. And then in July, all those primers prime us for this appointment request package. And this is where we have our hand raisers that say, yes, they want to have conversations with the gift officers. They also might share, though, that they've already made the gift. We do this in print and email. And if you see that email there, it is as plain Jane as it gets. And that it works great. Honestly, it feels like it is a genuine communication. And so we see folks respond to that a lot. And overall, doing this now, we've done it for 3 years. We're in our 4th year of progression, and it generates 2,000 times more prolific than our broad-based marketing efforts do. And it's the combination of the highly prolific targeted audience and then this campaign that really engages and stewards them over a concentrated period of time.
So,
and then I know we're slow on time, so
yes, I'll try to go quickly a little bit. So this is our survey, a little bit about reaching out and gift officer discovery conversation. It's generating a way for us to know more about the donor with I'm sure you've heard about the Russell James spoonful of sugar approach, where you kind of like get them engaged a little bit and introduce information about legacy gifts. It generates great ways for us to learn more about our donors and educate us, and lead generation, and then hopefully they raise their hand and let us know they've already included us. But this has done really well for us, and we've done this a couple of times. We had a digital version, as you can see there, and then we've also done one in print, and our results are generating about 800% more than our broad-based marketing campaigns. So this is doing really well for us. About 70% that say it's private will often share in the survey as opposed to a face-to-face interaction. So
yeah, it
works really well for us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know you might get tired of hearing about survey, but the honest fact is it
People
works.
love them. They love to fill out surveys. They really do. Yep.
Yeah, and it gives great information for your gift officer conversations on the back end too. So, and again, I want to point out this actually feeds a lot of that drip campaign too. This is half the audience that goes into that drip campaign. So we've got to keep it going on all levels. So last year, Jen, we were going to vote, but I think we'll just go through the results given we're short on time. And
have time for questions. We definitely want to have time.
We want time for questions. Yeah. So practicing new moves. We have done throughout the course of the last 3 years some testing. So I just had a client ask me this today: to have a teaser or no teaser? It's always the question. So we did some testing on that for a year. We also were looking for ways to increase a bit on those educational newsletters, the response. And so we did some testing on adding an additional offer insert. So it just features the offer and the benefits of it. We did testing on that for a year. And then also our entire creative staff here at Stelter has done philanthropic psychology course, and I have my certificate in that. And really, this is about improving people's psychological well-being in our messaging. That, fundraising is about, making people feel more loved and growing love. That's actually what philanthropy is about. And so we changed the messaging on our reply devices. Instead of just saying, I've included World Wildlife Fund in my plans, we infused it with those 3 basic psychological human needs of choice, autonomy. So I have chosen is autonomy. To carry on my love for wildlife through a gift in my will or plans. That is competency, our second basic human psychological need. And our third one is connectedness. So we added, please send me benefits of joining others in the legacy circle. And so on each of these, they either made no difference or doubled response or tripled response was going to be our poll question. But we're going to go ahead and skip that. And just tell you the answers because we're running short on time. The first one with the teaser, it made no difference. I know people continue to, like I said, I just had a client ask me this today. Honestly, a blank envelope is where somebody doesn't know exactly what it is. When they are looking at your direct mail over their trash can, you have seconds. And honestly, if you're telling them everything that's on the inside, unless it's something intriguing to them, like, hey, your opinion matters, or hey, these are the best rates that we've seen in a decade, it is not intriguing enough. It tells them and it just allows them to do what they want. So honestly, on World Wildlife Fund, unless it's something intriguing like that, we go with no teasers on the mailing envelopes of the pieces we do. Then that additional offer insert in the piece, it actually doubled our responses on our newsletters. This has become a staple in our newsletters that we do. We actually also tested it on not just one type of offer, because we do have this estate planner here that does well. We also tested it on an IRA guide, and it did great too. So honestly, it's like that offer brings them back to, hey, here's the action you're wanting me to do. And then our last one with philanthropic psychology, we found that it actually tripled new plan gift notifications by connecting with people on those 3 basic psychological needs of making choices, feeling competent, and joining with others and doing things. And so we are trying to infuse this more in everything we do in our messaging and making sure people feel loved. And this is the end of our presentation. Laura and I say hang loose and actually get ready for the millennial monsoon.
And I think Renee coined that one, didn't you, Renee? You coined that one.
I did coin millennial monsoon. Yes.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much, you guys. Let's
Yeah, a
try to
lot
get
of
through
questions.
some. We do have a lot of
Yeah.
questions. I'm going to just kind of try to synthesize some of them down. And I think, Susan, if you're still here with us, you can do that as well. There's a lot of concern. I would say maybe concern or just wondering. People are thinking that's a lot of mailings that you're sending out. How do you balance that with, say, the other giving departments, the annual giving, the major giving, calendars, so that people aren't getting so inundated? Like, how does that work?
So we sorry, Renee, I stepped on you, but we're very careful about the selection, and there's some overlap with our partners group, which is our annual giving, but that's because we want to share that information with them as well. I do suppress major giving prospects, people that are working with gift officers, so that we're not overwhelming them with mail. But our numbers are huge, like who we mail to. So there is going to be some overlap, but it's very careful about who we're mailing it to, and the age ranges that we're mailing to. So so there's not as much of concern as, we're very careful. I don't know
Yeah,
how to
and I would
answer
also
it.
say a large portion of our audience is actually lapsed in their regular giving.
Yes.
Or in their membership. And so again, John's doing that modeling. There is nothing about recency of giving in there. And so we capture, I think, a lot of people that might not be hit on their membership or their partners in conservation, their annual fund giving as well. Again, often what we're saying is helpful tools and very loving messaging and more stewardship and showing them the impact of their giving. And so we
And it's
really,
not the same. It's not
Yeah.
the same as soliciting an outright gift. It's just not. It feels different.
And we do try to keep sure, especially in email and digital, we synchronize with the outright giving within 48 hours. We don't want to overlap. Actually, digital is very finite like that. So we make sure in digital we span usually a week between the digital messaging, and then we do try to have our planned giving pieces not be at the exact same time as the annual and membership pieces.
Great. Susan?
Sure. So there's a lot of specific questions, but all kind of coming back around to what quantity are you mailing to? What is the budget that you have? What about smaller shops? You know, how many are you sending the drip campaign to versus the other, and what's that budget? So if you could talk a bit about the approach towards scalable campaigns, I guess, and how we approach kind of the quantities as related back to budget.
Do you want to do that, Renee?
Well, I'll just talk in general about scalability. And actually, we talked internally about this too before this webinar. Really, if you can go in the digital channel with some of these communications, that makes things a little more scalable in reaching them. So I maybe consider converting some of these to more digital. However, the flip side to digital is there's a challenge that you don't always have everybody's email addresses and are emailable. The data privacy acts are really increasing that as a problematic thing. But I just say going and doing as much digital as you can makes it more scalable for smaller shops. Also, you don't have to do every single, it doesn't have to be 6 communications. You could instead condense it down to 4, maybe do less. Just pinpoint what is the most important touch points that should be digital. And so I would say like stewardship can be digital versus you want some conversion points in print. We do give different gravitas to print than we do digital as human beings. And so at least have a couple and make sure you piggyback on your existing marketing efforts. That is what makes it more cost effective.
Throughout the organization. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Try to do the messaging in a way that you're sharing real estate with someone else. That can save you a lot of money. Just putting a message in there about putting your organization in their estate plans in some way, or remember us in your will, that kind of thing.
We're going to try to get to one more.
Go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry. One more question.
No, it's okay.
We're almost out of time. We have a couple of people that are curious. When you get a reply card back and they've X'd off that they've already put you in their will, what are your next steps with that? Do you just consider that a commitment that you book, or do you have to, and they're on the honor system, or do you have to have them fill out a gift intention form? How do you record that?
So we put them, when they raise their hand and tell us they put us in their estate plans, we have them join the Legacy Circle. So they become a Legacy Circle member with some benefits. They get a welcome packet and a pin and a certificate and things like that. And we have a stewardship manager right now that works with those folks to make sure that they stay engaged. We don't ask for them to prove it, so to speak. We don't ask them to fill out a commitment form. We know that keeping them engaged throughout and not just saying, okay, thanks, and moving on is important. You're going to stay top of mind when you stay top of mind. Like, you stay in their lives, you engage them in different ways, you invite them to events, you send great things to them, gift officers visit them, then you stay top of mind. And you're less likely to be removed when they need to reevaluate or they need to update or something.
And Laura, and I think we should point out, we do a version of we do include Legacy Society members in the newsletters, and we include a different version cover letter and reply device for them. So no matter what, they are getting those 2 touch points in our newsletters throughout the year too.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. We are out of time. We had so many questions
I
that we
see that.
didn't get
I,
to.
I feel
So
bad.
I do want to go ahead and put the offer out there. Both Renee and Laura have agreed and welcome your questions. If you want to reach out to them personally, their email addresses are on the screen right now, renee.durnin@stelter.com and laura.spellings@wwf.us.org. If you want to know more about Stelter and what we do, you can contact Susan or myself, or you can go to our website, which I failed to put on here, but it's stelter.com.
You can also
And then,
find us in LinkedIn. I did get some questions
right.
after the Bridge conference, or after the, I'm sorry, NCPG conference, people reaching out to me that way. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and and Renee as well.
Great, wonderful. So again, we are recording it and you'll have the slides and the recording. I'll put an email together tomorrow and send that out so that you can have access to those. We had some questions about some other assets people were wanting that you showed. So Laura, I'm going to talk with you offline to see how you feel about that. And then I'll let the
Okay.
audience know. And that's it, guys. We're sorry we're over just a little bit, but I think it's
Sorry.
been very worthwhile. I think we had about 300 people that logged in today and spent the last hour with us. So thank you so much for being here to share your time and your talent with us, Laura and Renee.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
And I just
Thank
want
you
to
very
give
much.
I want to give a shout out to all of Team Panda, Don Solis Toledo, Rachel Deely, Marlena Estes, Deborah Catherine, and Susan Feidelman, and Laura and I. We're Team Panda. Yeah.
That's right.
And they better be watching, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
afternoon. Look in your inbox for our next webinar and get registered, and we'll see you next month. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.